variation.
No, we can.
All right, we are live. Welcome to another episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. We've had a couple weeks off. We've missed you guys, and we're happy to be back. I am Dr. Paula Ruffin.
And I'm Dr. Erica Peabody. And I got to tell you, I mean, we had a couple weeks off, but man, is time flying or what? I think I say that every single time we check in here, but I'm astounded. I really am. We're beyond halfway through July.
My patients keep saying that, and I'm like, shh, that is
I know.
bad language around here.
Put the brakes on. So super happy to be back, though. We've had obviously a lot going on, and one thing I wanted to bring up too, you did I think a reset Monday, and you were at the water. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
There were so many great points in that, and now I can't even remember. I was just thinking about that as we were getting on. I'm like, I caught that reset Monday, and it was. I think it was about packing the right stuff for the cookouts and going to the water and being outside. Anyway,
it was all the things.
It was all the great points in there. So I think we should review a couple of those too.
That'd be great. And I can't remember. So that might have been the one when I did preset Monday.
Oh, preset.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was a Sunday because you had your hat on. You were still at the lake. Yeah, preset Monday.
Preset.
And I think it was right for the holiday. It was right. It was that the first.
Yeah. Okay. Ding, ding, ding. It's all coming back to us.
I know. Yeah. I was just thinking as we're kind of rolled right through the 4th of July and how many things.
Yeah, it was good to bookend it. And it never occurred to me about the preset on Reset Monday. So, because I think that's important. You and I talk about that. Like if you have events coming up and, you know, instead of just waiting for the event, and if you know you're going to derail, why don't you just prepare your body prior and then you can reset after? Mm-hmm. And so it was such a beautiful setting too. And I thought it was appropriate to do that. That was a pre-recorded Preset Monday. And I was like, this is what we do. And I meant to go over to my cooler and take video of the cooler and look at what I packed, which I'll just tell you, but I completely forgot that because then people started coming in and it was, it's like social hour. Yeah. I see people once a year at this event. So, but yeah, I just usually do, I had sliced cucumbers. I grilled little bites of chicken. I had my homemade chips and salsa. I had some hummus. So I had just all this really healthy stuff with me because I've always said, you never know in a potluck who's going to bring what. And if maybe it's all desserts that make an appearance. And then you're like, oh my God,
I know. What am I going to eat? I find myself, especially I'm around the water as well. And I find myself like, if I'm headed towards, maybe I haven't eaten in 2 to 3 hours and I'm headed over to the water and there's a lot of kids around. So there's just a lot of like prepared food. And then there's a lot of just not prepared food, like grab a bag of chips and something else. So I find a really pretty decent protein bar and I'll just have that just so I'm not even tempted by the other things. What I'm realizing is that, I mean, me and heat don't mix well. Now, Dr. Paula and I are very, very different. We're different ethnicities, as you can tell.
You're from the Arctic. I'm from the desert.
Yes, I am Scandinavian, tall Scandinavian, white skin, love 70 and 75. And then after that, so I went to it was a celebration of life. That patient that passed away, remember, I was at the death.
Yeah, you shared that on this
January. Yeah, so wild. Anyway, they had a celebration of life on this past Saturday, and it was like 85, and the humidity was really high, and I just don't even have any appetite. The cool thing is that they had grass-fed beef from a neighbor's cow that was donated to this, and I was like, of all the hamburgers that I could possibly eat, this would be it. But I can't eat in the heat like that. I just lose all appetite. So anyway, it's just really fascinating. And Dr. Paul and I, we handle our health very differently, but you can tell like our world is not one size fits all. It really isn't. And her yang to my yin is like, that's what you guys are getting, like truly the full spectrum. And, you know, she's always like, with the days that it's so like 95 and 100% humidity is ideal for her. And I can't even go outside during those times. It's too hot for me. But I also lived in extremes. I was down in Atlanta and in the South for 4 summers. And I was in Alaska for 4 winters. So I've done the extremes, and I've kind of had, I don't want to say I used all my chills and all my extreme heat already in my life, but there's something a little bit about, like, I really love the medium. I love a medium pace. I love a medium temperature now. So
I know. And so many people are like, oh, I hate to sweat. And I'm like, it's so good for you.
no.
Embrace it.
Well, I did a Facebook Live earlier this week because I had a patient come in, and it was Monday, and it just roared in rain, like poured that morning. And then during the later in the morning, so I saw her around 11, and she's like, oh, I couldn't get my walk in, even though it was just regular rain. Like, it poured, there was a storm, then rain, and then a lighter rain. I couldn't get my walk in. It was raining this morning. I'm like, humans don't actually melt. And I said, what if you put a rain jacket on? And then, of course, that afternoon was going to be 85 and sunny and humid. And she's like, and then I won't be able to go out this evening or afternoon because it's going to be too hot. I'm like, when are you letting Mother Nature determine your ability to move your body? Like, let's stop. Put your body in some extremes. Really do it. I mean, I don't like to eat at extreme temperatures, but I do. I'm like, do hot yoga and love all the sweat that I can possibly get. So, and then getting out in the rain, guess what? I got dogs and they don't care.
Yeah.
So actually they do care. I'm like, I raised some bougie dogs that don't want to get their hair wet. That is the thing over in our house.
I opened the door wall. Was it yesterday or the day before? And it was just buckets coming down. And I was gone for a few hours, and I came home and I opened the door to let the dog out because I knew he had to go out, and he just kind of looked. He peeked his head and he was like, I'm not.
What? So it was actually last Wednesday. It was raining, not yesterday, but one Wednesday ago. And I get up early because I see patients at 7:30. And Tater, first I wake him up out of his bed. He's now sleeping on his own because that's just his choice. I've always just gone and got him and brought him into bed, but he doesn't really like that. He just wants to stay in his crate. So I've been letting him do that since the 4th of July. And it's better for everybody involved. I just miss him, But anyway, I wake him up at 6. Lou sticks his head in his crate, and he's just looking at us sideways. His eyes are all squinty, and he's like, what do you guys want?
What?
And then we go outside in the rain, and he just puts the brakes on. And he's looking at me. Now his hair is all wet, and it's disheveled and sideways. He's still got his squinty eyes, and he's like, what? I'm not doing this morning. I don't know what you two are doing, but it's not going to be me.
That's funny. Yeah. And I think you're right, though, is it's the challenge for us that I'm not a cold person by any means. So I certainly, when you're saying challenge yourself for the extremes, I'm like, I'm good. Like you were saying, we all handle our health a little bit differently. And just real quick, I just want to, just a little housekeeping, just over on your page, and I'm just watching, see a new person, Nicholas. So welcome, Nicholas.
Welcome.
I appreciate
I can't see anything from where I'm at. So glad you're here.
I got it. I just want to make sure Nicholas isn't because sometimes we get spammers on here. So just making sure he's not going to like.
That's okay.
Making sure you're going to behave, Nicholas. Okay. But thank you for being here. Okay. Just wanted to say that.
No.
So it is so important to challenge ourselves in specific ways. And I think we've talked about this where I'm not necessarily a cold plunge girl, but I do all the other things. And that's where I think we end up getting into trouble for ourselves with, okay, so then people will see, because cold plunge is all the rage, that then they can still have all of these like horribly unhealthy habits. And then they're like, but cold plunge is going to save my life. And that's kind of where I named this episode Time and Healing, What's the Magic Pill? Because there's so many things that we're looking for the quick fix on. And there's things like, if you've ever had poison ivy and you know how badly it itches and how painful it is, or shingles, even anything like that, we would love a magic pill, but we still have to be patient with our bodies and our time. And like yesterday, I was sharing with you, I went mountain biking and it was beautiful. It wasn't as humid as I would have liked, but but it was still good. And I had to leave to get somewhere, and I normally would have jumped in the lake. And the lake at that, it's cool. It feels amazing. I'd been sweating for an hour and a half, and that's where I like that contrast of the coolness. I don't want to just go jump in a cold bucket of water for no reason.
Yeah, no, I get it. But the other thing is you don't ever let Mother Nature determine whether you're going to get outside in the winter. Like, I've seen videos before we even knew each other that you were out in the snow, just appreciating that. And so that is really like the conversation that I had on Tuesday on Facebook Live. And if you're not on there, go grab and just go take a look at it. But it was like, we always need to move our body every single day at some level, in some way, the minimum of 20-minute walk, brisk walk, like you're, late for your plane. But we need the minimum. That's the minimum. But let's not let a little bit of rain. Are you kidding me? Like, I went out when I was on my time off. I took the week of the 4th off, and I was over in Muskegon on the west side on Lake Michigan. And it was Wednesday morning. I was getting ready to drive back here because I wanted to be back for all the holiday celebrations and all of that. And it was raining that morning, but it was like 65 and raining, and I definitely got wet. But guess who? I was the only one on the beach, and on a beautiful, like, hour and a half walk on a Lake Michigan beach, and in the rain, like, I will, like, let's do the thing, even though, you know what I mean? Let's do the thing, even though.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Yeah.
I got great pictures. Just an incredible morning, like very, very memorable. And a lot of it was
all that, right?
Yeah, a lot of it. I'm like, well, you're going to get wet. Well, you're coming to the beach to swim. So like, put on some clothes and go for a walk. And I did have a sweatshirt on, and I was chilled and all of that. But then I also have dry clothes to put on after. You know what I mean? Like, let's not make this a big deal. Like, just do it anyway. So,
well, and even if you didn't, I just got in the car yesterday and I drove home wet. So it was, it was still a nice day, but
love it.
Well, and I love what you say too about just move your body in some way, walk like you're late for a plane. Great visual.
Yeah.
It was like a last Friday or the Friday before, I can't remember. I'd had just a crazy busy week time wise, and then a lot of things that took a lot of my bandwidth, my mental capacity. And I woke up Friday morning. Normally I'd go to the gym or want to jump on my bike if I could. I woke up at 9 o'clock. I was like, what? Holy. I mean, I slept 10 hours straight through, and that was like miraculous. And normally I'm up like 7:30 just naturally. Well, I got up and I was like, well, I'm going to, I think I'll get on my bike or go to the gym. I was still feeling a little like, I still felt like, even though I felt rested, I felt like my body was not ready for something really intense. So I put on shorts and tank top, and I went out, and I knew I had weeding and, clearing some brush and beds and stuff. I worked for like 4 or 5 hours outside, pulling weeds, lifting, bending, moving. So I still moved my body, but and it made me feel, I started to get energy over the course of the day. I couldn't have imagined that day getting up and jumping on my bike or going to the gym and getting straight into some intense stuff. So, really just respecting where your body's at, you can still move at any level. You can still move. So,
yep, absolutely. I was just looking because we're at principle number 24, which of the 33 principles of chiropractic. And it's the limitations of matter, which is the limits of adaptation. That's actually what it is, which is the limitations of matter, right?
Yeah.
But I was just thinking about, and I'll share a little bit about what's going on for me personally inside of this. But okay, the limits of adaptation. Innate intelligence adapts forces and matter for the body as long as it can do so without breaking a universal law. Woo! Take that in again. Okay. Innate intelligence adapts forces and matter for the body as long as it can do so without breaking a universal law. Or innate intelligence is limited by the limitations of matter. Okay.
And these are all universal laws. We're talking about the whole 33 principles are universal laws. And so let's just go back to one of our favorites, which is healing takes time.
It takes time. And
And
it takes
so,
time, and it also depends on, like you said, okay, so you slept 10 hours, you got up at 9, felt amazing, but not like, also like, let me just maybe take in the fact that my body needed and took those 10 hours, and let me just back it down a little bit. And as entrepreneurs, it's difficult because we have this very much like, this needs to be done in this day and this day, and this is what happens this day, because it just plain, quite frankly, just needs to happen that way. And you potentially can go to the gym and bust a move and probably feel good leaving there, but who knows? It might have been a little bit of a limitation of the matter that day, but you did other things that fueled you. You still got probably 10,000, 15,000 steps, no matter what, because that's our normal days, no matter what. But also, I'm just looking at this. So I was just, well, first of all, today is the first day in over a month that I have not had a low grade fever, which I don't know what that is.
yeah.
But my body has been working, and I have the Aura ring. So if you guys don't know Aura, Oura, look it up. But it was telling me I've had a 0.3 to a 1.5 degree fever every single day for the last month. And then I came down with poison ivy. So I think that that was maybe part of it. But I feel like, and I don't know for sure, last night it got really, really intense pain and itchiness that I was like, okay, my body's either going to get over some sort of hump now, or it's going to get worse. And I feel like this morning was the first morning I had an 88%, I had an 88 on readiness today. I've only seen 50s through mid 70s for the
Wow.
last month. I've been feeling fine, but there's some sort of something in there that was creating like disheveled matter, truly.
Mhm.
And so I'm still doing all the things and doing as much as I can, getting lots of sunshine and all that stuff. But I've been dealing with this poison ivy, and there's a lot of ideas about it. And if it starts to spread and go wild, it can really wreak havoc on the entire system, right? So I do understand that. And I'm 1 week in. What I realized is that my little dog was probably running through a patch, because I picked him up and I have it, it's covered and it's treated, but I picked him up and I hold him right there. Well, I started itching after I saw a patient, and it was like 11 o'clock last Thursday. So I was many hours into, I had showered and done all the things, but when I picked Tater up on Tuesday, I was like, oh, he lands right there and he's this far off the ground.
So you figured that out,
I'm
huh?
pretty
Yeah.
sure it's from him, but also just watching my body work with this. It's like, so Friday I surfed, I was in the water. Sunday I surfed, I was in the water. Saturday I swam, but it was like not that bad last week. And then I'm thinking, my body's perfectly capable of handling a little poison ivy, no big deal, until it really has become a big deal. And now I feel like nauseated. And like last night, I was itching my whole body, which I feel like it's a little bit in my blood. So what I need to know for myself is, number one, 100% could go in for a steroid shot. But guess what that's going to do to my body? It's going to reduce the inflammation, which is fine. It's going to make my mood go out of control, my sugars go out of control, and kill my immune system. Those three things I'm not willing to jeopardize. So then I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Keep supporting my body. I'm taking a bunch of supplements to support. I got an infusion on Tuesday, and it'll get there, and it's covered and everyone's fine. We're all protected, but I'm just watching the limitations of my body. But I'm also in curiosity if over the last 4 years, since 2020, my immune system is just different than it used to be. I had poison ivy, but it's been years since I've had it. I've had like 1 or 2 little spots, but it transferred to here. It then transferred to here. But I can feel it in my system. So now I know that I got to make sure I sleep well, but I feel like my body did something in the last 24 hours that is starting to kick it to the other side. Now we'll see.
I love that you have the Aura ring, because this just makes those of us who have the Aura ring, it makes us even more aware of what's happening
Yeah.
under the surface, even if it's not like now we pay attention. Why has my fever been like that? Or why haven't I been getting good rest? Why is my readiness not where it should be? So it is insight for us to be able to take action on things that maybe we're not necessarily feeling it on the outside or on the inside or the outside, but we're like, ooh, if I don't pay attention to that and correct that, that will become something
That will
super
become it.
detrimental. And so, think about like how many people we see who are just completely unaware of their health, and they're just between food, smoking, lack of movement, poor sleep, like they're just absolute train wrecks. And that breaks my heart to see that. So when I see people like that, it's really hard not to just be like, you're in control of this and you did this to yourself, so you can undo it.
Right.
And that's also where there is no magic pill. It takes time. Everybody's running for the weight loss shots. It took them years to get to a disastrous place with their health, and now suddenly a shot is going to be the magic pill. And to your point about the steroid shot, yeah, you could go and listen, here's the thing too, is for something like what you're going through, if you were like, I'm sorry, I am going out of my mind and I know the only way out is with a steroid shot right now. Nobody's going to fault you for that, because I will say I don't live in other people's bodies. So I can't particularly judge when people are in crisis. But what we do know, and the reason why we love you guys being here, is that we're here to help you improve your state. If you are in crisis and you have to you're like, I just can't do anything about this, and I got to do something, which is the magic pill, a steroid shot, an antibiotic, or whatever. We're here to help you make sure that you correct your body's internal biology so that does not have a long-term effect on you. And the problem becomes that people get a sniffle and they have it for 3 days and they're like, I'm just going to go get a Z-Pack and knock this thing out. But yet they have chronic sinus infections.
Right.
And it's like, well, if you stop running for a Z-Pack every time you got a sniffle, this wouldn't be this wouldn't be an issue.
For sure.
That's not a crisis. A sniffle is not a crisis.
Right.
Having unrelenting itching and pain from something like what you're going through, that would be, that would be okay. It's the same thing we talked about, like, don't take Advil before you go golfing just in case you get sore.
Right.
No, let your body get sore.
Yeah, it was interesting. And last night, what I was getting to last night too, and I almost sent, you and Dr. Anna a message, was like, not only is it painful, it's itchy, but the sheets are everywhere they're touching me. That's why I know it's become a little bit more than just this spot, right? Everywhere that's touching me, it's like, I could let this completely go out of control and itch myself right out of my world. And I'm like, okay, and let me just trust my body. And I wrapped my arms with ACE bandages just so that they had protection from touching anything. And that helped a lot. And then I was able to sleep and I slept well. And I know that my body processed something last night. But I was looking I had an x-ray report on my desk earlier and I scanned it into the system and I think it's sitting right here. It is actually. Okay. So I've had this patient under care for a long, long time. And she started to come in over the last, really months. And she had this shoulder thing started, it's painful. It's not working right. When I move it, it hurts, blah, blah, blah. So her MD, or DO actually, sent her to get an x-ray of it. And I said, okay, cool. So, and I would have done that, but he already did that. Right. So I'm like, when you get the x-ray report. So I had my staff call over to get the x-ray report. To pain and no injury, but pain started 2 months ago. Relentless pain, and it's getting worse. So there's no acute fracture, no dislocation of the right shoulder, moderate degenerative changes of the AAC joint, minimal degeneration of the glenoid, and then light lipping and spurring of the glenohumeral joint, which is just this area, the shoulder joint. Osteoporosis in her clavicle and glenohumeral joint. So I was like, I expected to see osteoarthritis, but when I'm reading osteoporosis and a certain level of degree of degeneration, I'm like, did they write this wrong? Because it's from a radiologist, and I'm actually questioning it now, but they're sending her. So I called her because the DO's office, a lot of people are dropping balls up different places, right? And so I said, I just want to make sure I have the report here in my hands. I want to make sure that your DO that ordered this up is following up with something. They called me. Yes, they are. We're going to do an MRI and a bone density. And I was like, okay, cool. And I said, well, I see osteoporosis. I wasn't expecting that of this joint in particular, of this bone. And she said, should I be worried? And I'm like, well, they didn't do a bilateral. So a bone density is definitely warranted here for sure. And an MRI is warranted for sure. What's going on here? Now, this is what I did say to her. Get to a functional medicine immediately and get some supplements on board immediately. And I know this particular patient spends the entire summer in the sunshine and drinking and eating whatever. And I said, you need to look into anti-inflammatory things right away. You've got a lot of years ahead of you. I think she's she's 66. She's amazing for 66. You got a lot of years ahead of you. If you're getting osteoporosis here and your lifestyle is the way that it is, you need to look up anti-inflammatory. You need to do everything anti-inflammatory that you can possibly think of. Apply to everybody across the board, but especially here. This is saying there's something going on with her chemistry, with her blood, but she, coming in to get adjusted, I could adjust this area till the cows come home. But there's something that she's building with her lifestyle. She's created limitations of matter right here. You can see it in black and white. And let's make the proper choices. That doesn't mean that she didn't make the right choices for herself, but I can tell you the lifestyle that she lives, especially through the summertime, is making us worse and worse and worse and worse, and leading to all kinds of other things, because that's a very unusual thing.
Yeah. And one of the reasons, just to expand on that, why that becomes so unusual is that when you go and have a bone density test, they typically check the hips.
Yep.
Because the hips are usually the first to go. So they're the densest and usually the first place that you can detect it. So immediately when you said osteoporosis in the shoulder area, I'm like, oh, homegirl's brittle. Like it is all over. And
it's all over to be here.
Yes.
This is like last ditch effort your body's taking because it's losing minerals somewhere else. So it just steals from the bones first.
Yeah. Yeah. It's lack of absorption. It's 100% a gut issue until proven otherwise, because the gut is where we absorb, and she's not absorbing. And I would say that this is a common scenario with somebody like her who would come in and they'd say osteoporosis. Well, first of all, yes, you should be worried, because if you fall, that is fracture central. And the older we get, the more dangerous it is to fall and break a bone. So then we look at, again, what's the absorption issue? But then they might say, but I've been taking calcium all my life. Well, now the conversation is, you've been taking like calcium carbonate, which is like chalk, and it's not even absorbing. And how much are you taking? And then are you on
magnesium, vitamin D?
Are you on all of it? Are you on acid blockers? And to your point, is she on a diet, more of a diet that is an acidifying diet? But if she's eating a lot of it's sort of like the body chemistry. I don't want to say too much and confuse the alkaline acid balance. But so when you are taking, let's just say you're taking the acid blockers, that doesn't necessarily make you an alkaline state. And you need acid for your body to absorb calcium. So when people have chronic digestive issues and they're taking Tums, proton pump inhibitors, any of those things, you're not getting your B vitamins, you're not getting your calcium, magnesium. You're literally not absorbing any of the proper nutrients. And so you're losing a lot of it faster than you're absorbing it. And so it is really common to see this in somebody her age, and somebody who's been like, but I've been, or I've been active all my life, and like you say, she knows she doesn't have a good diet through the summer, but it's just a common scenario. So just wanted to bring that to light, that if you've been taking calcium your whole life, there's another problem. It's either poor quality calcium, it's lifestyle, it's absorption, it's a gut issue. You're not exercising or having enough weight bearing exercise. It is a whole host of things that feed into that.
She's also one she's a yogi, but she's like a part-time yogi, just meaning like, or a VIP yogi, visit in pain yogi, or visit when it's convenient. And it's like, actually, you need to always stay doing yoga, always. Like, always. Just there's no reason to stop. She does go to a strength training class, which is awesome. But, I was just thinking because I know the lifestyle and I know what's gone on, but I just think about the seltzers that came to the market as a lower carb reducing alcohol seltzer. And the bicarb in that, and how that blocks absorption. Like, if you sit around in a lake and you drink multiple seltzers a day, you're not getting a whole ton of calories, but the chemistry changes that you're making at a blood and bone level, you do that repeat, and you're actually setting yourself up for that. Like, everything in super moderation. And I actually, for me, I choose, sometimes I'll choose like a LaCroix to mix in, but a lot of times I'll just choose water, straight water to mix in. So I don't have the bubbly and the bicarb that's creating that, so that it's not reducing absorption and it's helping and it's not jeopardizing so much. Or if I do have a seltzer, like I'll have one, but that's it. It's not 8 or 9 in the span of 12 hours in the sunshine. You know what I mean? And so I just think about, like, everybody thinks they're going for a better option, and they are to a certain extent, but chemistry wise, the body keeps score and it wins every time, no matter what.
Yeah. And it builds that score, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Whether it's for you or against you. So
and our health is an accumulation of that
at this point. And I always say too, the fashion waters, holy moly. Boy, one of the biggest eye openers for me, this was many years ago when vitamin water first started making an appearance. I feel like, if my memory serves, I feel like vitamin waters were one of the first big fashion waters to hit the market many years ago. And then Costco decided to, Kirkland brand them. So what they did, the original vitamin waters, they had, if they had any sugar in them, they had just pure cane sugar. Mm-hmm. And then Kirkland took them over and filled them with artificial sweeteners. So, and I only know this because for some reason I picked up I think it was at my brother's, because he would buy vitamin water all the time. And then I picked up a Kirkland and I started looking at the label, and I was like, because I actually went and pulled one out and I started drinking it, and I was like, why does that taste so different? Ugh. And so here's this, it wasn't a 1-to-1. It wasn't an apples to apples. They didn't just take and private label vitamin water. They took it and reformulated it. And now that it had artificial sweeteners, flavors, and colors in it. And it was like, vitamin water wasn't horrible to begin with. And so I was like, yeah, if you want vitamin water, that's fine. Still it's in plastic and all, whatever, but it's better than drinking a soda. Well, now they took it over, completely adulterated it. And now I'm like, no, like, you need to avoid that at all costs. So our food industry is really interesting, how they do these sort of smoke and mirrors and these swaps on us. So we have to really be paying attention. And to your point, it's just go for the water. That's really your best option.
Water. Yeah. Yeah. And, I just even think about, you brought up vitamin water, and it's like, that's a freaking brilliant name. That is a brilliant name.
Yes.
That does all the marketing for you.
Uh-huh.
And it will forevermore. Once you get it on the market and you get people believing in it, and you can change whatever recipe you want to and put whatever you want to in it. It's a brilliant name. It really is. I
And let's just
commend them
add
to.
that the vitamins in it are synthetic,
Oh, that's
and the
disgusting.
the
I
amount
would
is
never drink
so low.
that.
Like, it's water with a drop of it. Like, don't kid yourself.
Mm-mm.
It's not water that's giving you vitamins.
No.
It's water that has a minuscule amount of synthetic vitamins added.
Yeah.
So go eat some blueberries, eat some strawberries, like
Yeah,
something.
and if you want something in your water, I mean, just a simple lemon, a little bit of sea salt, like that's about all you
Mhm.
should ever really add to it, or use it for like use it as a mixer. Like, I like to some of the mixer stuff that people are just using. It's like, oh my gosh, first of all, you're putting alcohol in your body. That's enough. But then you mix it with like Diet Coke, for instance, like
I know. I know.
load your
And
gun, load your gun, really. Like that's like having a loaded gun.
I have a little bit of a hard time talking about like healthy ways to drink, but
Mhm.
it is true. It's like you got to stay away from the sugars. Like, I enjoy a cocktail here and there, and so I want it to be as clean as
Mhm.
possible. I'm using fresh pressed juices
Yeah.
with, like you say, some sparkling water, a little bit of alcohol. Like, it is clean. There's and so again, we don't drink for our health, but that also doesn't mean you need to take that situation and just completely adulterate it. Like, there
Yes.
are smart ways to do everything.
Yes, there are. There really are.
And
And the
Diet
other
Coke
part
mixer
too.
is not one of them.
No, and the I know. Oh my gosh. And the other part too, we are going to these celebrations. We are doing some things. And when we have those things planned, and I think one of the things you had talked about in that Preset Monday was when we know that we're going to do something and we're going to be exposed to who knows what, we're going to a grad party, a wedding, or whatever, like get really clean ahead of time. Do a preset
Mhm.
3 days. It doesn't mean you need to starve yourself or fast or anything. I mean, I think fasting a little bit before Thanksgiving is probably a good idea, that kind of thing. But, just really, really clean it up, like sort of front load your nutrients, front load your body if you're headed into like a big celebration of some sort, like 4th of July, that kind of thing. And then the other part that I usually do is when I'm somewhere and there's food out, like I'll go for like a clean protein and have a lot of clean protein on my plate rather than because once you have enough protein and enough nourishment, the body's like, whoa, 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 like that's enough. And
Mhm.
it'll give you satiety feelings and all of that going on instead of filling your body with who knows what first. Like go for the greens and the clean protein and have a lot of that. And someone said the other day, there were two things they said, are you really hungry? And if so, would you eat eggs, potatoes, or a piece of chicken? Like, are you really hungry? It'll be those three things. And if you are really hungry, those will sound good. And if you're not really hungry, you're just going for something, then you need to really check in. Would you eat a white potato? Would you eat eggs at this point? And would you eat chicken? And if those are no, then it's more than likely some other driver. You're not actually truly, not that everyone needs to love potatoes and chicken and eggs, but it's just an interesting filter to take life through and our food
Yeah.
choices through.
Are you wanting a donut? Are you
Right.
wanting,
Yes,
yeah.
I do want a donut.
Yeah, right, yeah. But will you have it, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
there's
No,
so
yeah.
many times we look at, I just dropped that episode of Preset Monday in there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so often we do things we're like, oh my God, that looks so good.
Yeah, and that's
The,
okay too.
you know, but again, if you're like, okay, I know that somebody's gonna bring, okay, I'll go full disclosure. Thanksgiving, my sister-in-law always makes monkey bread. And you know what monkey bread is? And she makes it with the freaking crescent rolls. So it's hydrogenated everything. It's the most horrible thing you could eat on planet Earth. Has that little bit of saltiness in it. And then she layers it with cinnamon sugar and then bakes it. Now, I'm like, my mouth is watering. I prepare before Thanksgiving because I'm going to take down some monkey bread and some bread dressing. Like that is all I want on Thanksgiving is the bread carbs that have the butter and all the things in them, right? But I'm gonna preset because I already know right now.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. There's my favorite comedian. Well, I don't know if he's my absolute favorite, but I really love him, Jim Gaffigan. He talks about donuts,
He's so
and
funny.
he's so funny. And his buddy's like, he's like, hey, dude, do you want to go get a donut? And the guy's like, no, I'm not even hungry. And Jim Gaffigan's like, what does that have anything to do with? What in the world would that have anything to do with going to get a donut, whether you're hungry or not?
That's so true. You
Really
have
good.
to watch Unfrosted. Did you see that with him? Oh my God, all-star comedy cast. It's
Okay.
Jerry Seinfeld wrote it during COVID.
Oh my
And
God.
it's the story of the Pop-Tart. And it's
Okay.
not a true story at all, but it's a made-up true story. And it's the star power in this movie is crazy and it's hilarious. It's a good watch. Yeah, it's about an hour and a half. It's an easy watch if you just need a good laugh. So there's that.
Great.
Yeah.
So,
But anyway, going back to our limitations of matter.
Oh yeah, limitations of adaptation. So as we kind of roll into the last couple of minutes, I'm glad to be back. This really helps fuel us, and I know you guys kind of check in with us once a week and at least hopefully get like a little like, oh, okay, I got just a little nugget here or there, and a reminder of that our body we're supposed to eat well and move our bodies and keep a positive mindset and drink water and get a rest. And then of course, come get adjusted with us or somebody around in your area. Because our bodies are limited by the stuff we put in them, the building blocks that we give it and all the things. And we have limitations there, and it's innate intelligence is trying to dance with creating health and getting through our days. So.
And you just nailed it. It's the building blocks. So you cannot neglect your foundation of health. There is no magic pill.
Right.
Everything takes time. So whether you're trying to get healthy or you're healthier and you want to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, you have to train for that. And training for something like that, as Dr. Erica can tell you, it takes time. Even though she was in great shape prior to that, there was still some epic things she had to do. So it's never over, you guys. It's not, being healthy and building health is never over. And, I talked about when I was sick a few weeks ago, and it took me a while to pull through that, but I had to really super tap in and rebuild myself physically, mentally, emotionally, through food, through sleep, through movement. So it's never over. So don't ever, take that for granted.
I really hope that I can come here next week, poison ivy free. I mean, just in general in my world, but just come to this podcast, because even the thoughts and feelings that are going through my mind too is like, I went to my mom. My mom's a nurse of 50 years and she retired many years ago, but I was showing it to her. I'm like, is this okay? Fortunately, I have medical healthcare providers in my family. And she said, yeah, when I was a kid, I had this much of my leg was covered in it. And I'm just looking at it, I'm like, I know my body will take care of it and it'll be fine. And I really do think I turned a corner, but I'm like, there's gonna be a pretty gnarly scar there, which I'm kind of okay with too. I hear raw honey will help.
Yeah, I think there's a setting on the laser for scar tissue, but there's got to be a scarring setting too, I would imagine, right?
Just gonna try and make sure that it stays.
You need a laser booth.
I know. No, the red light therapy too. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I didn't think of that for poison ivy, but I will get in it at the end of my day today, and I should have been in it. I'll get in it multiple times this weekend too. That'll be really, really helpful.
Yeah, just all the things. And that's the thing. All the things more than you would normally do, because it's not over. Like your body's struggling. So there's a limitation of matter. It can only heal so quickly. And and Dr. Erica is, a great example of how we have to be respectful of that. So, yeah.
Cool.
Well,
So,
awesome.
yeah, the 24 limits of matter. Innate intelligence adapts forces in matter for the body as long as it can do so without breaking a universal law, or innate intelligence is limited by the limitations of matter. And then next week is going to be the 25th. I'm just writing it in here. The character of innate forces. The forces of innate intelligence never injure or destroy the structures in which they work. That is so good, especially talking about fever again, and like the body's will to get to tomorrow is, and I have another story, and it'll probably be completed by next week, I'm imagining, but I have another
Make sure
story.
you make a note. Make a note of it so you don't forget.
I will.
Yeah, it seems to me we're going to get down into the cellular level next week. I wish we could like get into tiny little boats and like travel through. There's got to be some AI something what it's like to travel through the cell. That would be really cool.
So cool.
So, awesome.
All right, guys. Love you so much. Yeah.
Appreciate you being here, and we look forward to seeing you next week. But we'll also see you Sunday for Sunday Night Live, and I have Ken Somerville on the show. Super excited. It's all about the biology. We're gonna talk about some cool stuff there. So, all right, you guys, I'll see you soon, and